Yo, 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 what is shaking everybody out there in the world? Welcome back to another episode of the Women Effect Show presented by WINJECT Studios. So excited. You know, if anyone's like, you can't watch this right now, but if you're listening to this, you have no idea how excited I am right now because I was just moving. It wasn't the music, but I have the biggest boss in heels in the world right now. Miss Laura, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, Chris, what up? I'm bursting from excitement over here. And I was just watching the intro and I was like, this is so freaking cool because half of my friends' faces are like popping up in the intro as I'm watching it. So, yeah, it's so awesome to be here.
It was inevitable by the time that we would meet. And I know that we obviously were speaking through voice notes for the first time, like we knew each other for like years, just because of the people, how many mutual people we do actually have deep conversations with and relationships with. So it's not just a person in passing that you know and mutual friends. You know what I mean? Like a person like Belinda Agnew, great personal friend. Tima, I love her to death. Fresca, like I was actually making a joke yesterday to myself, like when I was prepping for this interview, I talked about a tripod in Australia. I have a tripod. So but now I have a table. You know what I mean? We have a table now. We built our own table.
I know, and I was the fourth leg of the table that you've always been missing, Chris. So
right.
The full table, I was going to say full circle moment, but full table moment.
Right. We're finally doing this. So yes. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a impactful episode for those out there that understand, consciousness and being a little bit more aware and understanding what you're built or born to do in life. And when something doesn't feel right, and I know that we both share this in a similar story coming from corporate type of life and going, there's something else that I should be doing right now that I'm not fulfilling on. And that's one of the things where I think it's Tim Grover. He mentioned in one of his books, because, you think, you're going to get the bill for winning. It's just going to cost you everything, but it's going to reward you with everything that you ever asked for. When you get that bill for regret, I just don't want to go to, the last years of my life and look back and go, I didn't fulfill. I didn't actualize fully. I didn't even scratch the surface. I mean, have you felt that? You feel that? But that's back, 2016 when you started Boston Heels?
I felt that in a huge way, Chris. And leading up to 2016, I went through asking myself so many questions about, what is even the purpose of me being here? Because I really took all of my surroundings in, right? And I had all the typical measures of success. So I had gone through school, got really good grades, landed, went to university, got 2 degrees, not 1 degree, but 2 degrees.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Overachiever, right? And then eventually landed a role in corporate and started climbing the treacherous journey of the corporate ladder. And for me, even though I had all these typical measures of what it looks like to be successful, and I did love what I was doing in the corporate world. So it's not as though I didn't like my job. I did like my job, but I had this inner knowing and this deeper calling that there's got to be something more out there. And let me just listen to that voice. Let me just follow that and start getting really curious and asking good questions. And it was through that thought process that I eventually decided, you know what have I got to lose? And similar to what you just said, I would rather live a life of having tried different things and try to get closer to that vision and that purpose than to never know and to never try at all. Because one of the saddest things that I feel like can happen to a human being is wasted potential and a wasted gift in life. And so I am just like going for it unapologetically in a really big way, because I'm like, you know what? I would rather be shunned, ridiculed, be lonely, be alone, have people make fun of me, than live a life that is not fulfilling and not true to my purpose and my vision. So Yeah, I agree with you. And that book that you're talking about, Relentless, I think it was Tim Grover's book.
Yes, it was. I couldn't remember the name because there was a couple different ones that came out that he
Yeah.
was talking about. Yeah, I watched his episode with the guy. Was it the Diary of CEO? Stephen?
Yes, Stephen Bartlett.
I watched that one, and that was a powerful episode. And I really relate to a lot of what he was saying towards the end of that episode, where he was talking about, like, listen, you know, every time that I was going after something, I knew the consequences. I knew the sacrifices, and I knew what I was going to have to potentially make to get to where I was going, but I was willing to pay that bill.
Yeah.
Where I relate to you and a lot of people that I do know that are overachievers and high achievers, it's not like you wouldn't be great at just doing, you know, a corporate life. You would be great at doing anything you set your mind to. The whole point is for you to be able to feel like you are actually getting to a situation where, like, I'm living in my purpose. Yeah. I'm doing what I was born to do.
Absolutely. And there's nothing quite like the fulfillment and the energy that is created when you're doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing. And when you're able to get into that flow state, where for me, podcasting is ironically, you know, we've had these conversations, Chris, but podcasting is like a flow state for me, because I could do it for 5 hours and I feel like not even 5 minutes has passed. And that's when you know you're doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing, when it feels effortless to you and when you feel really energized by what you're doing. And I feel like this is a really interesting topic to delve into, because so many people get lost and confused about, what is my purpose? Like, I don't know what that is. And I think they get really confused by that word and overwhelmed by that word. But what I would say to those people, if you don't know what it is, just start getting curious with yourself and start doing more of the things that energize you. And when you start finding and doing the things that energize you, naturally you build momentum in those areas, and you just never know where that road can take you and what trajectory that could look like for you. So I feel like we over engineer it sometimes, and we just got to get back to basics. And it's like, don't worry about what your purpose is yet. Just think about what energizes you and what fulfills you and what brings you joy, and start doing more of those things in your day-to-day life.
I love this. I was speaking to a client, an old client, and it's actually a friend now. And I was like, work as hard as you can, and for the younger self and like the different versions of you would be actually proud of you. And if you live with that type of awareness in life, then that's what your goal is, because no one else really cares. You said something in there was talking about wasted talent. I thought of The Bronx Tale for some reason, that movie. I'm not sure you've ever seen it. It's like wasted talent. And it triggered something in my mind. So when you said something else, I remember the moment where he goes, no one cares. At the end, no one's going to care. Like, we're a blip of the universe, a blip. That's all we are. But are you going to be able to actualize? And I speak a lot about this to people, and they don't grasp the concept on how easy it is to open up that freaking Pandora's box and going deep inside yourself. But you have to be alone in your own thoughts, and that's a scary freaking place.
It is a really scary place. And you know what, Chris, sometimes I feel like we're not just scared about our insecurities, we're actually really scared of our power and our full potential.
I love that you said that.
Yeah, as human beings, we don't even use, you know, there's so many studies that have shown this, that we use a fraction of our brain's capacity. Like, it is minutia in terms of our actual capacity that we use as human beings. And the thought of being great and stepping into our power is terrifying, because we often feel more comfortable with what is familiar to us.
Pick your devil.
Yes. And so even if familiarity for you just feels like feelings of not being good enough, or feelings of playing small, or feelings of being rejected, that is your place of comfort. Even though it's not pleasant, it's comfortable and it's familiar to you. And so what I've observed through speaking to thousands of people and working with thousands of people is that they stay in what feels safe and comfortable and familiar to them.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that are truly rewarded in this life are those that are brave enough and willing enough to break out of that comfort bubble and do the scary thing, step into the unknown, do the thing that feels really unfamiliar to them. And I feel like you and I clicked right away because I feel like we both understand this and we both embody and we live a life that is conducive to this. Like the amount of times that I have been completely terrified of putting myself out there, terrified of first starting my blog, then terrified of starting the podcast, and terrified on posting online, terrified of being vulnerable and sharing more about me. But every time I've done that, it's paid me the biggest reward. And so I stop and I think and I evaluate that and I'm like, hang on, there's something to this. There's something about being brave. And, that saying, the universe favors the bold, the universe favors the
100%.
brave. I truly try and live my life by that, of just being bold and audacious and unapologetically going for it. Because to your point, life is just a little, this human experience, it's a little blip.
And most of us don't live in existence. We're living in the past, or we're trying to project into the future. We're never present. And that was my heart for me, for myself. I can only speak for myself. But when I got to a certain level, if you want to coin it, success, there's a lot of different ways you can view success. I mean, in relationships, money, family life, whatever, right? It's just a lot of different ways. I mean, healthiness. When you get to a certain level of financial success, people can easily see from the outside looking in going, holy shit, he's got a great life. I was the most unhappy at one of my peaks. I was always dialed in. Like I was dialed in. Like nothing moved unless I had to move it. And that's how my first corporation started. It started with me. That's why I called it the name of the company is Chris Ross Companies, because it started just with me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then it turned into a corporation. But luckily, I mean, I'm a very blessed individual, but it goes with hard work. So I'm not going to ask someone to do something that I've never done. But when you get to a certain level of success and you go, I'm not living what I should be doing. Like when I stopped doing what the world was projecting onto me and telling me that I should be, that's when I broke through another layer. And that's where you talk about like where we relate so much and how we get along so well. Is because when people have broke through those type of layers and that glass ceiling, we can recognize those who have done similar work pretty quickly.
Exactly. And often the glass ceiling is not necessarily what other people have projected on us. It's often the own limitations that we put on ourselves. And also, I feel like the people that we surround ourselves with have got an incredible impact in terms of having no ceiling, being limitless. And you and I have got a lot of really deep shared connections. And what we all have in common with each other is this uncapped potential and uncapped opportunity in terms of what our future looks like. And surrounding yourself with people that are playing a big game forces you to level the hell up, because if you don't level up, you're going to fall behind. And when you're associating with these kinds of people, it's like, hang on, I want to get onto this as well. I want to push the limits of what's possible for me too. And I want to, keep challenging and keep playing this game. And so the people that I've surrounded myself with, naturally with time, as you go on this journey, you're going to lose people along the way. And it doesn't have to be an argument. It doesn't have to be, this big fallout or anything like that. But naturally your priorities shift over time. And it starts sort of doing this, like, you start going in two different directions. And I find that on this journey, it can get lonely at that time where you're breaking away from the comfort of the friends that you grew up with, the friends that you went to school with, or you went to university with, or just lived near. And when you go on this journey and you realize, hang on, my life's going in a very different direction to these other people, doesn't mean I don't love them and doesn't mean that I don't wish the best for them, but we've got two very different types of lives that we're living. And if I want to really go for it, I'm going to have to create this space for people to come into my life that are on that same journey as me, because you need that support network around you, and it really challenges and helps elevate and lift you up collectively.
If you don't do that, and kind of going with what you're saying, and I'm really resonating with this, because there's been a lot of people that I used to harbor certain type of feelings of regret that we weren't associating any longer. And I had to come to terms with it. That's what it was supposed to happen. When you get to, and it kind of goes with the previous episode that I did with Emily Freeman, was talking about attachments. That's an attachment. If you remove yourself from that type of level of attachment and you're secure within your own true self, then you're not going to harbor any of those type of feelings other than gratitude that you did come in contact with them at some point. And you do have appreciation and affection towards them if you do see them in your path through cross. But I look at every person I've ever come in contact with as a sheer legacy of mine. Something you taught me, directly or indirectly, consciously or subconsciously, that I've taken from you and been able to manifest the life that I'm living now. I look back at my life from 10 years ago. I'm living the life from my 10 years ago. I was actually projecting and I was trying to manifest, because that was the hard freaking work. But then now I look at my future and I'm looking, and of course I don't spend a lot of time saying the things that I do want, because I want to be a little bit more aware and let it come to me rather than going after it. Because I used to be, so driven. I'm telling you, I'm so competitive as well. Like, we'll be walking on the street, and if you walk a little bit faster than me, I'm gonna beat you to stop sign. You know what I mean? We'll start running. That's how competitive I am. So I had to learn how to control my competitiveness.
Yeah.
I shift that from other people to myself.
Yeah. And it's like a push-pull effect as well, right?
Right.
Knowing when to push and knowing when to pull. And it's like this beautiful dance. And I believe that there's different seasons in our life. And you don't get to where you've gotten to, or what I've been able to accomplish, or what anyone who's considered successful is able to accomplish without them grinding and hustling in some phase of their life. Like, I have done some serious hard work and hustle in my life, but there's a time and a place, and there's a season for that. And I think what you're saying really resonates with me as well, because it's like I've gone through like 10 years of like, solid hard work and like hustling and like, moving things around and making things happen. And then it's like at some point you actually start to feel the benefits of that, and the opportunities start to come to you, and there's like a shift in the energy, and you're like, I used to go asking people for these kinds of things, and now they're coming to me. Like, hang on a second. Like,
it's hard to deal with. And let's talk about that just for a little bit with the listeners. I mean, because I know some of them potentially haven't gotten there yet. And I use the word yet as a very powerful word, because every given second you have an opportunity to learn something or to whatever that situation is. But when you start exceeding your own expectations, and I talk a lot about is breaking through a sound barrier. It's where you're going to get the most resistance from the outside world or the universe, is where you're about to break through, but you're going to be tested in every level. You can't just what you did last week or what you did 10 years ago is going to get you to the next level and just like kind of grandfather you in. No, you're going to be tested every single time. And those times where you were in those 10 years of the hard work and grind, it's now you talked about that familiarity, right? Like being familiar with those type of situations. If that type of situation happened now, then you would just be able to perform and make it happen because it's deeply ingrained in your subconscious mind. It's like, oh, I'll just do the work. It doesn't really matter. So when you get to that point where you break through and people are starting to praise rather than throw banana peels at the screen and talk shit, and then the opportunities come at you, it can be it's hard to deal with sometimes because you're like, oh my gosh, I have to say yes because I used to grind to get here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Let's talk, like, walk the listeners through like what that type of experience is when people come at you for more opportunities where you have to kind of make sure that it aligns with what you're going after.
Yeah, it's a hard one to get right, especially initially. And to be perfectly honest with you, Chris, it's something that I still sometimes struggle with because I felt that shift for me. It happened a couple of years ago and it still continues to play out now where I feel there's more of an effortlessness in terms of me trying to make things happen and my ability to be able to manifest things feels sometimes really overwhelming because, whoa, I can't believe I actually made that happen, you know, and I never in a million years did I think that something like that would be so effortless for me. So there was a pivotal moment for me and I did start to feel that shift of opportunities coming to me, people pitching me, people wanting to work with me, people asking me to attend events or show up to things or, you know, get paid to come and speak at something or whatever it was. And there was so much grinding in that period for me where I would just do anything and everything for free.
Right.
I just wanted to provide people with as much value as possible that I would do almost anything for free because I was like, I just looked at it as an experience or an opportunity. And so now when people come to me, I really have to think about, is this aligned with my vision? Is this aligned with who I am and where I want to go? And in order for me to determine whether it's a fit or not, I have to be so clean in terms of knowing exactly who I am, knowing exactly who I stand for, knowing exactly what my values are, knowing exactly what my standards are, and not compromising for anything less than that. And it can be really difficult because we get tempted sometimes. I mean, sometimes I get tempted. I'm like, well, that sounds really cool. And then I think about it and I go through a thought process and I ask myself a series of questions. Is this going to support my vision? Or is this taking me away from my vision? Is this person going to help my vision or are they hurting my vision? And sometimes I really have to sit on that and I have to really lean into my intuition and my gut and learning to lean in and listen to my body. And this is something that I have been actively practicing, I'm going to say, for the last 2 years. I used to be very cognitive and I still am. So I have to really lean into what signs are my body giving me when I'm sitting reflecting on this, right? And so when I get presented with an opportunity, I will sit on it. And I will go through like a bit of almost like a visualization exercise of how would I feel if this thing happened? How would I feel if I partnered with that person or said yes to that opportunity? And your body always knows, you know, our bodies are always speaking to us, whether we get goosebumps, whether we get like butterflies in our stomach, or whether it's like a lump in our throat. Like you're getting physiological signs and cues as to whether you're on the right track and whether the alignment's there or not. And so what I would say is I'm still not perfect at it, and I definitely still get tempted, but I have learned to trust my intuition and instinct. And it's like a skill. It's like a muscle. Like
it is a muscle.
You can train yourself to become more intuitive just by silencing your mind, blocking out all the noise, creating space to be on your own, And by being on your own, I don't mean being on your own at home and scrolling through Instagram and like
truly being alone. Yeah.
I mean actual silence and space. And when you give yourself that, it's a gift. And it has never served me wrong. Whenever I followed that instinct and that bodily physiological response, it's never taken me astray.
You talk about it as a gift. I feel that it was a gift that you will keep giving to yourself. Someday you'll be able to receive that. But if you're not willing to receive it as a gift, more as a burden, then you're discontinuing yourself from you actually really stepping into who you should be. And I feel sometimes, because what I used to do for a living is people would invest, around like $200K or so to hold my focus for, 6 weeks for me to properly do an audit and try to align my processes. Fast forward years down the road, I look back at that time and I was really grateful for the advice that I got from a really predominant individual that told me to do that. Because I used to say, okay, I'll get involved. And I would spend that 6 weeks with my focus and not being paid for, you know what I mean? So I wasn't guarding my focus, my attention, because if I get closer to a company or get closer to, a situation, an opportunity, and something doesn't feel right, then I'm out. And I've been involved with some, names out there that have done stupidly well. Okay. And they don't have it all together. So I want everyone to listen to this. And I really hope you understand the ones that you're idolizing out there potentially don't have it all together. We're all just out here, just floating around this universe, trying to figure out who we are. Okay. And it's not always going to work out, but I kind of go with Mark Cuban and what he said, you got to get it right once. Once you understand the formula, you can get it right every single time. That's where you see so many people just business after business after business. They can go to podcasting, they can go to live streaming, they can do whatever they need to do. They're just going to win because they understand how to operate themselves first.
Yes. Right. It all starts with you. I think that the moment that you start blaming the economy, blaming all the distractions, the system isn't actually
wasting time. Yeah, you're wasting time.
It's designed for us to win. I think that there is more distraction now than we've ever experienced in our entire lives. Yes, technology is a beautiful tool and it allows us to be able to do this. It allows us to be able to connect. I mean, we're in different parts of the world and we're able to connect in this way and share our experiences and insights with your incredible community. That's amazing that we can do that. But with that comes a very dark side to it as well. And one thing that I have really learned, and actually one thing that I'm kind of obsessed with is focus and how to get laser focus in a world full of distractions. When everyone is making you feel like everything is your problem, when you turn on the news and like you're so...
I don't watch it.
I don't watch it either. Because it's firstly, it's overwhelming and I just don't feel like that's a good use of my energy. When you've got such a strong vision and purpose, I want to do only the things that are going to help me get closer to that. And there's so many things that can take away from that. So the news, social media, scrolling through Instagram, going down the TikTok rabbit hole, a whole bunch of YouTube videos. And YouTube can be amazing for education and inspiration. But there's a whole bunch of other like random things.
Next thing you know, you're like watching people pop pimples and stuff. Like, the people don't realize that the social media platforms are built to take away your focus.
Yes.
They're with the premise of connecting, they're disconnecting you. Okay. And I can go nuts right now, but I'm not going to down a deep rabbit hole with everyone. But you got to be very conscious that these platforms are built on an algorithm off of what you like and dislike. So whatever your thoughts are is what you're seeing.
Exactly. Whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're speaking about, it's not a coincidence that all of this.
Well, they're all listening to us. I swear, if I turn on YouTube today and someone's popping a pimple, I'm like, see, someone's listening.
It's all over. It is all over.
I'm listening to my conversations. I promise. I'll stop.
Oh my gosh, 100%. That it's so true, right? And so I think if anyone listening to this is like really curious about how do I delve deeper, how do I start to actually achieve my goals, how do I actually do something that I am going to be really proud of, that fulfills me and that maximizes my potential. You have to really analyze how are you spending your time, and the screen time function on your phone will tell you. It will tell you the exact breakdown of where your time is going. And it's astounding. People spend 8 hours a day just on their phone and they don't even realize it. And that's how they're spending their time. And then they come and complain to me like, oh, Lara, you don't have any kids and that's why you've got more time to work on your business.
That's an excuse. Yeah. People they hit me with stuff like that all the time. Like granted, I do have a young child, but I haven't been able to spend the time with her as much as I wanted to, but obviously things are changing. But people have said that before because they view what I do for a living as that I have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But really they have
no idea. I was doing this 10 years ago, bro. Right? I'm like, don't project this onto me. I mean, just because it's your own limitation, you're trying to project on me and trying to sell. Are you trying to convince me or you?
Yeah, exactly. And this is maybe really triggering for some people to listen to, but I'm okay with that because I think if it prompts something within you, if it prompts something within you to take change and to actually take control of your day and take control, therefore, of your life, then you will be a better person for it. You will be more fulfilled. You'll be able to bring more joy, more money, more energy, more goodness into your life as a result of that. And so for me, I'm super disciplined. This is actually my superpower. I'm not actually that talented. I'm actually just a really disciplined.
I would disagree, but yeah, it's your vibe, man. It's your vibe. Yeah,
it's discipline. It is me being so laser focused and putting in the right controls to protect my energy, protect my mind, and protect my time. And as you know, Chris, I got back from Austin like a couple of weeks ago, right?
I love Austin, yeah.
I freaking love Austin.
Shout out to everybody that I used to obviously spend time with in Austin, Texas, and the barbecue. Get some barbecue, please.
I love Austin, right? And Austin is amazing. But I came back to Sydney a couple of weeks ago and I was like, you know what? I am going to use this as an opportunity to reset myself and really put some good measures in place. And so the first thing that I did was I redefined my bedtime, which sounds ridiculous because I know you don't sleep, but I literally
thank you. Yeah, because I don't.
I literally have started going to bed at 9 p.m. because I like to wake up at 5 a.m. and I like to do all of the things that I want to do to energize myself in the morning before everyone else has woken up. So that's number one. Number two is that I have put very strict measures on this thing, right? So I have got everything in my calendar, including the time that I have dedicated to social media and to Instagram. So there's 2 times a day that I will allow myself to check Instagram. It's usually around like 8 to 8:20 at a.m. and then again around 8 to 8:20 p.m. So that's 40 minutes a day. And what that has allowed me to do is be super intentional with when I'm on Instagram and when I'm on social media. And I'm now using it rather it using me.
Wow, yeah, that's powerful. When you make that shift in any kind of device or any type of, I would say, something that's supposed to, well, I guess you would say grasp your attention and hold your attention for a time span. I mean, think about, I look back at some situations and some platforms and some things that I was using, and just like yourself, I touched Instagram once a day. Once. And that's usually between 8:30 to 9 o'clock in the morning. And that's usually when I'm reading reports. And people probably like, oh, I see them a lot on Instagram. You're seeing my team, bro. Like, it's, they're tagging and they're doing a bunch of other stuff. But I have to be me, because I know if I'm on that sucker, then my focus is now I'm distracted. And this is how my team looks. And actually, one of Erin, she's been around me for a while, and she was telling me, she goes, my job's to keep Chris's focus on what he's working. I was like, so powerful. You just got a raise. I heard her say that to someone. My job's to keep Chris's focus on what he's doing.
Oh, that is super powerful. Super powerful. Because when you protect your focus like no other, that is when the magic happens. Truly. Like, that is when you become a creator instead of a consumer. That is when you really start to get these incredible ideas and unique ideas, not copying what everyone else is doing, but actual, authentic, true thought leadership. When you give yourself that space and you preserve and protect your time and your energy and your focus in that way. So it is such a simple thing, and it's really hard for people. But if you can nail it, it's, amazing things can happen. And I speak from experience.
When you got back to Sydney from Austin, what motivated you to reevaluate some of your routine?
I'm obsessed with creating and redefining my routine constantly. This is like, I don't know, it's like an unhealthy obsession or something. So
no, I think it's important, because you have to evaluate, and not to cut you off, but you have to evaluate what's going to get you to the overall outcome. I look at situation when people say, do you have goals? Yeah, I have goals that lead to dreams, but I have targets that I need to hit, and then non-negotiables. So those non-negotiables and targets always change, but the outcome doesn't change. So I'm always going to redefine. And I love that what you're saying. We relate in so many different ways. I have to redefine my boundaries and potential more areas of opportunity that I'm not seeing right now. And if I'm have this routine, because you're going to hold trajectory of somewhere else. You know what I mean? Yeah. I call it the rest of y'all, like the Roy bus, like Roy is rest of y'all over here and I'm over here. Okay. Like I'm going here. Yeah. I'm willing to put my noise cancellation stuff on so I don't hear you screaming, but I'm going here. Okay. So when you're redefining that, what were some of the things that jumped out to you the most? Was it just to sleep so that way you can have your focus and attention in the mornings to get a head start? Is this what it sounds like?
Yeah, I mean, this is something I've focused on for years. So when I came back to Sydney, it was like, you know what? I use the time difference to my advantage. So most people would come back from being overseas and be really jet lagged. I thrive off it. I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity for me to reset myself and get really good discipline and habits in place. And I'm pretty good, but in Austin, I had to work Australian hours. So I kind of became a nocturnal over there, and it kind of threw me off a little bit off my game. So when I came back, I was like, cool, perfect opportunity. For me, it's anything and everything I can do to get closer to my vision.
Right. I love that.
Yeah. And so for me, the way that this all started for me was studying world-class performers, studying Michael Jordan, studying Oprah, studying Richard Branson, Jocko Willink, like in any kind of industry. What are the top people at their game doing? And how can I impart some of that into my day? Because compound effect is a real thing.
Oh, it's real.
It's
real.
It's a real thing. And so I started studying these world-class performers and looking at what do they do? How are they spending their time? What time are they waking up? What are they doing when they wake up? How are they spending their time? What boundaries do they have in place? What kinds of people are they keeping around them? And this really became the foundation of a lot of what I've done through Boss in Heels, is talking about elite habits, elite routines, increasing your focus, and all of those kinds of things. So for me, this is just like part of my day. You know, it's like I choose to wake up at 5 a.m. and I choose to spend the first couple of hours on me, because it is a gift that I give myself, and it helps set me up for success in a really big way, because I am doing certain things in that time that other people are not doing. And when I repeat that every single day, the compounding effect over 365 days, over the course of a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, pays off in a really, really big way. So it's a really subtle difference, you know, choosing to skip a workout, choosing to not meditate and pick up your phone and look through social media. Like in that moment, it doesn't feel like it's a big deal, but it's the compounding of those decisions which ends up becoming a very big deal. And that's the whole point of it.
I love, and the reason why I asked you that question, and this is so insightful for anybody listening that maybe potentially wants to get started at even looking at a routine on what it is supposed to look like for you. And, you know, you mentioned some Michael Jordan, Oprah, Rich Brands, people like that do have set routines. I'll tell you what they're not doing is just going with the flow. They don't, they have a plan. Okay. They have a plan. And I've talked about this in for the first couple of seasons of my show, The Win-Win Effect. It was all about, you know, teaching people how to enroll students and you know, and with the win-win effect. That's why it started with that, is having deep, powerful conversations, you know, and being open to those deep, powerful conversations and not running away subconsciously. But when you get to a certain point, I used to talk about just get 1% better every day. That sounds cool, but what I really mean by that is that first 1% of my day is only me.
Yes.
So 12 to 14 minutes of every day is 100% in me, because I need to get to the core and root. I need to understand what's happening. And if you don't have that time to invest in yourself, you do if you tell me your schedule and tell me your routine. But that first time is literally when I wake up in the morning. It's crazy, Laura. Like I wake up and I'm just there. I'm just being. You can't think and be at the same time. It's impossible. Okay. So I think, but every time I go to think about something, I drive that thinking to being a little bit more present. And that's the muscle of guarding your focus. That's the muscle. It's taking yourself from something, a thought, to going into just being. So every time you go to think, be, think. So you're driving that thinking because that's your time to just be.
Yes.
And that's the muscle that people need to really strengthen, because that right there is going to separate you from everyone.
100%. 100%. And that is really what being present is actually about, right? It's actually about being and building that muscle to be,
right,
and not to think, not to talk, not to do, but just simply to be. And that is really hard, but I think that you have to start. Everyone has to start from somewhere, and it does require effort to be, and
that's the issue. If something requires effort, people aren't going to do it over time.
Yeah,
because it's effort.
It's effort. Exactly.
They're gonna do something. They're sitting around waiting for someone to do it for you.
100%. And you're never gonna be able to achieve what you want if you're waiting for someone else to do it for you. You have to take radical, and I mean radical, responsibility for your own life. You have to make those decisions for yourself when nobody else is looking, when no one else is around. Right. And the side benefit to that, which is a pretty big side benefit, I might add, is that's how you build self-trust, and that's how you build self-confidence. It's when you actually do and commit to the things that you say you're going to do, even when no one else knows the difference, that's when it actually counts.
Mm-hmm.
And that is truly what separates, the top 1% from the rest of the pack. So it's a choice, and it's not for everyone. And I totally get that. This isn't a lifestyle for everyone. But if you really want to be a world-class performer, if you really want to achieve true greatness in this life, you're going to have to start doing things differently than what most people do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a choice. It's a decision.
Mm-hmm. Well, your decision and choices are a reflection of your previous thoughts, and obviously probably even what's your future. I can tell people's future from their routine. I can tell you your future. I just posted something in my stories that I really don't ever do that. It's like posting something just random of Andy Roselli was talking about. It's like people are where they're supposed to be. If I can be a crystal ball and predict your future, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You haven't done shit in 10 years. You know what I mean? And you're over here pointing fingers at me. And I love his vibe sometimes, but he can be a little bit abrasive. But that's like, he says what I really want to say to people. Someone said that to me one day. What did they say? Like, I haven't had the opportunities that you've had. I turned a different color. I turned a different color. I'm like, I created these opportunities.
100%. And then people turn around and they say, you're so lucky. And it's like, this isn't luck. You
got a horseshoe up my ass somewhere, right?
Absolutely create your luck through the decisions that you make, through the choices that you make, through your intention,
right?
How you choose to spend your time. It's all of these things is what makes someone lucky. So
we're all miracles, and I want everyone to understand what I mean by this. We're all miracles to be born on this planet. Miracles. So that's perception. You have to look at life as a gift and an opportunity. I know I'm not going to be here forever, but at some point I realized that I will die. We're all going to die, though.
Yes, it's inevitable.
Right. While you have the brilliance age of when your brain is actually forming its consciousness, right, is you are exposed to your environment. And then by the time you forget who you used to be and who you should be, like that's where kids are the most free, is between 0 and 7 years old, because they know who they are, but without the world telling them who they should be. Don't jump. I was watching Kanye West. Someone told me the other day, like, you're going to end up being a genius, being crazy. And I'm like, I'm going to end up in a straitjacket soon. But it was like, don't jump on that coffee table. And the next thing you know, like, it's projected and it's continuing to keep coming in your life. And now you're like 70 years old and all you see is coffee tables. You know what I mean? And all you see is no, no, no. Like, I don't want to tell people no. I'll tell them these are the repercussions of you doing this. Here's what you don't see. And I think that's obviously what it ties into Boss and Heels. And I think that's what I love about your show. This is our experiences. And here's how to get yourself into this situation.
Yeah.
Here's my formula. Here's some of the things that have worked for me. They might not work for you, but being alone in your own thoughts and actually being a little bit increasing your awareness will help. And I think it's powerful. I even like the logo with the little heel in the middle. It's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know that you were just in Austin doing you're working on your brand, right? So when you're working on your personal brand and you're starting to see a different version of you, are you starting to get that type of, I would say, I like to say it's quietness sometimes when you start making some moves and people are like, what is he doing? Or what is she doing? You know what I mean? They start seeing that shift in a different version. You're starting to reveal a different version of yourself to other people. That's where I believe, and this goes out to the listeners, that's the massive opportunity. That's the test. Because most people, they put it out a little bit, that kind of tiptoe effect, that you're not going to get anywhere. You got to put it all the way out there and say, I don't give a shit what you guys say. Is that where you are right now in your mindset with it?
100%. I'm like all freaking in, Chris. And it's so unapologetic. And it's so interesting what you said about people noticing it, because people do notice it.
They get quiet.
And I just went through like a whole redesign of my business and a whole rebranding exercise of, I started Boston Hills in 2016, right? And I was petrified. I was so scared of being judged. I was hiding behind the brand is actually what I was doing. And what I did this year was,
it's powerful, hiding behind the brand. I loved how you said that.
And I flipped it this year. And I was like, you know what? I'm no longer going to play small. Because even though from an outsider's perspective, people think, oh my gosh, you're doing all of these amazing things. You're so bold. Your podcast show, your business, you've got all of these things going on. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not even getting, this is like not even me scratching the surface. My mission is so freaking huge that I knew in order to get to where I want to get to, I have to start showing up differently. And it started by me owning my own brand and putting LARA NERCESSIAN at the front of my brand. I love it, yeah. And I'm no longer behind Boston Hills, but Boston Hills is actually kind of sitting underneath.
It's a byproduct. It's just a byproduct of you.
Byproduct, exactly. And so spending that time in Austin was super cool, because Austin, as you would know, right, like there's something really calming about the energy there. And I just took a lot of time to just be still.
It's it's one of the fastest growing, like as in for people moving there than anywhere else. So it's that vibe of what you're picking up on is the vibe of new starts.
Yes. Yes. I think there's something like 10,000 people moving to Austin every single day. And that time and that change of environment really helped give me a different perspective in terms of what do I want to do next. And I really just sat with myself and I was like, there's no point dipping your toe in, like you said. There's no point half-assing it. If you're going to do this, go all the way. And the moment I flicked that switch over, it was like,
when I know I feel this way, when I go to explain something, I'm trying to give it to them the way that they would understand it. Now I don't give a shit. So, and I'm saying I don't care about people. What I care about is being able to express myself.
Yes.
Like my next couple moves will be very disrespectful. So that's what you should say to people. It's going to be disrespectful. My next moves.
Amazing. I love that.
That came to me one morning. That's 1% time. That came to me. I was like, my next moves are going to be disrespectful. You know, disrespectful to everyone, but not to everyone's consciousness. Again, everyone's perceptions or their opinions of me or the old version, and they don't want to see you in a new skin. They refuse.
Yes.
To see it, but it's fine. I'm now no longer conscious of your reaction.
Yes. And I'm no longer bothered by your projection onto me. I'm going to do me and you do you. And I'm not interested.
Just go over there.
Yeah. You know what? I'm so uninterested. I used to care a lot about what people thought of me. I'm not going to lie.
Everybody has that.
Yeah. And I had such people-pleasing tendencies and I never wanted to be too loud or too this or too that. And I'm like, you know what? I just want to be me. I just want to be me. And I know that I'm not going to be for everyone and I'm perfectly okay with that. But I'm only interested in a very small number of people's opinions of me. Mm-hmm. And everyone else can like piss off as far as I'm concerned. Because you know what? If you
I have a complaint email, I'll send you to this email, and it's like you're sending an email to the abyss of nothing because no one ever reads the email.
It's like the unanswered.
No one has access to the email. I don't even I probably can't even get into it.
It's amazing.
True, real life.
I need to set that up.
I call it. Well, that's how I get my Ask Clown folder. I have an Ask Clown folder. I have one email that I give people, and I send people if they, whatever they want to express their thoughts, and I'll have my team take a look at it.
That is actually amazing.
There's probably thousands of emails. They're just talking to the abyss of nothing. Whatever makes them feel better. Because sometimes people just want to express themselves and just want to say what's on their mind, but that doesn't mean I need to hear it.
Exactly. I didn't ask for your opinion. I know, right? I know. It's so true. But, I'm interested in the opinions of people that I care about, and the opinions and feedback of people that are playing a similar game.
Right.
And the people that are willing to also step into the arena. If you are sitting on the sidelines, with your cushy blanket, munching on your popcorn, and you're not willing to get into the arena, I don't want to know about it. Your opinion holds no bearing on me and what I'm going to do and what I'm going to say.
Right. I love that you said playing the same game, because I live in England now, and people could tell from my accent I am American. So when I moved here, that's why I don't watch. That's what really helped me with not watching TV, is because the sports are not the sports that I grew up playing and watching. Yeah. I have zero interest. So the best player at cricket has zero relevance in my life to me, but they might be a great performer. And no offense to cricket, I just don't understand.
It's not the thing. Yeah.
It's not my thing. So whatever people do for a living, if they're exceeding expectation, they're the best at that, great. It's just not my arena. It's just not my game.
Totally.
So you have to understand what you're doing for a living and what you're actually going after may have crossed a different arena and went into a different ball game from people that used to know you, and they're not understanding it anyway.
Yes.
That's something to be very conscious of. It's like, so listen, maybe they're not hating on you. They just don't understand you.
Exactly. And I'm okay with that. I'm so okay. And I just know how to now focus my energy, and I know whose opinions I want and who I don't want. And if people don't understand me, then that's okay. If they're curious, I'm more than happy to explain, my perspective. And if they're not, and if they just want to judge and project, then that's just where they're at that in their journey. And I'm just going to send them all the love, and wish them the best on their journey. Really, I have no. Send them
to an email. I'm telling you, it's the best. It's the best advice I can ever give anyone. Just like if anyone's listening to this, set up an email. If you have, I don't know, Google domains or whatever you have, G Suite or whatever it's called, set up an email with your, whatever your domain is, and just set up an email. Call it whatever you want to call it, and don't give yourself access. Just set it up, and then that's the email.
It just goes into some ether that
it just goes to the abyss.
I love that.
It really does help.
It's the best advice, honestly. I'm really going to take a page out of your book.
It really works. I'm telling you, it's been really helpful, because if you, especially with entrepreneurship, and it just kind of goes out to the young entrepreneurs out there, if you're not guarding your focus on what she's talking about, what'll end up happening is you're putting out fires all day long. I've learned and come to the realization that my job is to start the fires and create havoc. Okay. And my job is to scale the business. Now that it's built, my job is to scale it. So running the day-to-day operations, they are there to control the fires, the directors, right? And if there's something on fire, then, of course it's going to be on fire. So everything I touch, it turns in fire because I'm moving. Yeah. So it's not my job to facilitate all this, but I will train them on how to do it, because I've done it all myself before.
Exactly.
So, and you took a page out of Michael Jordan's book, and we've had the best leaders and the best examples of greatness in front of us our whole lives. You just got to you have to be open to seeing it. And I think it was the Last Dance we was talking about. Is like, listen, I'm going to ridicule you. I'm going to belittle you. I'm going to curse at you. I'm going to do whatever it takes, because I'm doing it for you, because you're not seeing it. Because you never want anything. I wanted you to win just as much as you know what I mean? I wanted you to experience what I experienced. And he literally had a team around him and never experienced like actually being with a team because he's Michael Jordan. You see my point? That's loneliness. No one dropped me. Like when you see people on top of the mountain, a helicopter didn't take them up there. Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. They had to crawl that.
Yeah.
There's no fast track. And that's why it was one of the things with the industry, especially with course creation. I know that you have courses coming out, which I'm excited to talk about just in a second. Course creation, people wanted to develop a course and these event speakers would drive them too, but it was like a one-night stand. So they would hire us for back in the day as aligning the process to make sure there's success ratios and they actually complete the programs and get something from it, which that keeps your accreditations and government funding, whatever you're going to do. But when you're looking at this way, people are trying to sell them something people don't want. And you're selling them courses that on platforms that people don't even use anymore.
Yeah.
What's the point? I can give you the playbook and the textbooks of how to exceed expectations and how to win.
Yes.
And you're not going to do it. So the issue isn't the information.
Yeah.
It's the execution.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
There is so much information. We've got more access to information now than ever before, you know, and I think that even COVID exacerbated that even more because we've moved to online learning. We've moved to being able to have access to courses, information, free videos on YouTube, books, audio books, you know, you name it, it's all there. And knowledge is an even playing field because everybody has got access to all this same information.
Easy access and free access. There's sites out there that you're out there paying for these stupid ass programs and you can get it for free. It's all like said a different way.
Yeah.
I'll find the clip. Okay. And obviously I got down to my normal weight again, but I had a long beard and it was like me screaming in a microphone like 8 years ago saying, if you're not online in the next 2 years, you're dead. I was screaming at people on a training. You're dead.
Amazing. I need to see that clip.
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll get it. If anyone's watching, my team's watching this, find that clip for me, please. But yeah, I was screaming at people like, you're dead. You're dead in the water. And now you have this information era that we're living in, but the information era we're saturated with it, and there's too much information. It's not explicit knowledge. I'm looking for explicit knowledge. I'm looking for that. So now you have all these people that, especially like with some of these newer books, the books that I read, they put out like an 18th century, you know, those are the ones that's truth.
Yeah.
Now they're just the first 2 chapters of the book. You're convincing me why I bought the damn book.
So true.
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't care. Like I bought the book. I want to listen. And you're just telling me about, it's stupid. Anyways,
100%.
I'm gonna go on a tangent here.
I love it. It's so true though, you know, wisdom, you know, like I love reading about like, you know, stoicism and like books like you said that go back like hundreds of years because they stand the test of time. So what they knew then to be true is still as true today as it was back then. And that is such a true source of knowledge.
Being able to know what's true and what is an illusion. I spoke at an event, virtual event, because of COVID. There's probably like around 20,000 or 20-something thousand people in that chat thing or whatever platform. I can't remember which one it was. And I led with that statement. Truth and illusion. What's truth and what is an illusion? And I went down this whole deep rabbit hole and went nuts. I had no idea what I was going to talk about. And I wasn't what they hired me to talk about.
You gave this anyway.
Well, what happened was I watched the other speaker, and I was the last one. So it was a speaker. And then I watched him and I was like, well, he left a lot on the table. I'm going to make sure I'm going to clean this up. So, and just went in.
Amazing.
Because I saw you could see all the comments. And then what they're asking for, people weren't delivering. And that kind of goes with my previous statement. Or you're trying to sell something or try to project something people aren't receptive to.
Yeah, exactly.
But you deemed it to be valuable. It doesn't mean someone else is going to see it's valuable because they're not playing in your arena.
Exactly. Yeah, it's what do people people are going to assign a value to things.
Yeah.
People are willing to pay for things based on the value that they assign to them, not what you dictate. Like the market dictates that. So
yeah, well, the market dictates that, but then also it takes an extreme amount of confidence to be able to communicate it. They say the greatest currency in the world is the effect you can leave on others. So why aren't you trying to leave someone with a better freaking vibration?
Exactly.
And I think you touched on it at the very beginning. You talked about goosebumps. Goosebumps is just the indication I just raised your vibration.
Yes.
That's what goosebumps is. So people don't understand. It's important to go back and read these types of books because you'll start figuring out that maybe these people had it right. Okay. they know something that we don't know. And that's how I look at books, because I'm dyslexic. So like reading something for the longest time in my life, I'd never read books because that took me forever to consume information. Then when audio came out, my life changed.
Audio books, podcasts, like what an incredible source of information, really. Right. And
that's why I don't read bios. I don't do any of that stuff. That's what show notes are for. When someone comes on my show, we're just having a conversation. They're like, who knows what they're going to talk about?
Exactly. I think that's the best way. It's just like, creating that environment and creating the opportunity to have these authentic conversations with people, and you just never know what's going to come out of it, and you never know what someone's going to take away from it. And I think what you touched on before is so true, because imagine if everyone lived their life with the intention of leaving that interaction or that person feeling just a little bit better, or feeling like a little bit kinder, or feeling like, I don't know, they just like made their day, or just did something that left that situation in a better place or state that walked into
Powerful.
it. And if everybody did that, if everyone focused on just being like, 10% kinder, imagine what kind of a world we'd be living in. It'd be a completely different place.
Well, your own world. I mean, I live that now, right? So it's just because I'm not exposed to potential threats that are going to take me away from my focus. And that's where I really struggle with life. You talked about your phone. I've had to turn my text message. I think we both have iMessage.
We do.
Yeah. So iMessage, I turned on the red receipts. Because
I saw that you've got like the your notifications are silenced. Is that what you mean?
For 90% of my day, pretty much. Yeah. And then also on top of that, I turn on the thing where it says, it shows you, I read your message, because I want to let people know, like, I haven't read your message. So why are you sending me like 4 other ones? And it's actually really helped without me having that conversation. So because that's what tends to happen when you're not being transparent of you guarding your focus, and you are not showing it's you delivered, and they're like, okay, he's just not reading my message. I'm not ignoring you.
Yeah, I'm busy. I'm focused.
I'm guarding my focus, bro. Like, I'm going after it. I mean, there's a lot of people counting on me. There's a lot of my future self is counting on me. So I have to keep moving. And then sometimes I need to decompress, and I need to get myself back to focus. Like back to myself. Like a lot of times, like on the weekends, I mean, this kind of goes with, a lot of relationships that I've had. I'm so freaking driven that I would forget that I actually had a other life. But then when I started to make that part of my life, this is just my life. Ooh. And if it doesn't fit into my life, then it doesn't get around me.
Yes.
And I feel that that's where most people aren't operating at. And this is where you can operate at optimal level. And you touched on recyclable energy, but we just didn't coin it with that. When talking about you can be podcasting for 5 hours and it feels like 5 minutes. Like we've had an hour and something conversation. I felt like we just got on this thing, right? So because we're recycling energy,
yes,
together. And why is because we have the capacity to be able to recycle that type of energy.
Yes,
we live and die by the same type of vibe, right? So. But if I can have a conversation with some people and it'll feel like an eternity. It was 2 minutes. Like that took forever.
That was a really long 2 minutes of my life.
I'm like, I'll never get that back. Thank you.
2 minutes I'll never get back.
People are going to listen to this like, you're an asshole in this one. But it's true though. Also, if it's not being receptive and it does irritate you a little bit, it's just irritating what is inside of you that maybe potentially you haven't done.
Yes.
So that might, because there's been a lot of teachers that I've had and, coaches, and the ones that are most thought-provoking are the ones that really allowed me to exceed my expectations and pushed me are the ones I remember. I don't remember any of those that just kind of like just ticked all the boxes and just graded my paper.
Agreed. I think there's so much to be said about the way that you make people feel.
100%.
And also seeing something in other people that they may not fully be able to see yet. If you can impart a little bit of that into someone, that could be the greatest gift that they've ever received. And sometimes people, like, we're just so in our own heads that we don't even see ourselves for who we truly are and how magnificent we actually are as human beings. And it really can take for that one person to just say that one thing to you, and it just opens up a whole different world. And yeah, I really try and live my life by that as much as possible. Like, it doesn't.
It shows, and it shows in everything you're doing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It really shows. You mentioned superpower. That's my superpower. Is being able to see things in people that they don't, or they're not even aware of.
Yeah.
And I've learned that was my gift, but I chose to receive the gift. And that was through hard work of really in developing my internal dialogue to where it was unpenetratable and unfuckwithable. Like now it gets to a certain point, like you can't, I know what I'm here to do, and I know my gift, and I know what discontinues me from my source. And those are the things that I don't do. Like you're talking about, like I know that we have conversations about relationships and whatnot. I may have already attracted her into my life, but just obviously hasn't manifest, or maybe I haven't. But it doesn't. I'm not attached to the part of when that happens. It doesn't matter. It's going to come to me right when it's supposed to.
Exactly.
And there's no attachment there. That's true love, right? Is when you are not attached, but like together we'd be powerful. But if it aligns.
Yeah.
People talk about that if you are aligned, you're always aligned. You're aligned to the things that are taking you away or things that are driving you to where you're supposed to go.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, that's the time of the night, right? When you close your eyes before you go to sleep and your frontal lobe, right, starts to relax a little bit, you're going to think about your life. What is those thoughts? What does that look like? And that's what I tap into with people. Yeah. Walk me through the last 20 minutes of your day. No, before you go to sleep.
You want me to walk me through?
No. Like what? That's why I ask people. No, like walk people through what does that look like? And then because that's where me as they were calling me as a salesperson, but I wasn't. I would ask questions, and it was only on audio because what I'm doing is I'm now forming with my own mind and trying to imagine what your life looks like. And this is how I would immerse myself. And I would immerse myself so much in the other individual selfishly enough to use my understanding, my consciousness, my experiences to figure out what they wanted without them telling me. And then I would be able to provide them solutions. And I'm like, that does feel right. That just feels right. And I've had so many people would send me messages, just as much as the hate ones. I don't give them the same email, but they would send me messages. You changed my life. I don't even know what the hell you were there for that company for, but you changed my life. Those messages are a reflection, a byproduct of obviously you doing what you're doing, right? So, to me, it means the world. It just lets me know that's the praise, a little bit of praise that I would need, that I can look at that folder and go, all right, I'm making an impact somewhere, in some arena, but I just got to keep moving. And if it doesn't feel right, and if there's one day that I decide that I don't do this anymore, then that's the day that my focus went somewhere else. I'm always gonna be doing something. I promise
exactly.
you. So I really gauge that off of you, that whatever you're gonna put your focus to, you're just gonna make it happen.
100%. It's like all or nothing, you know, like I think when you decide to do something, like I do it wholeheartedly.
I see that.
Yeah, it's just like there's no other way to do it. Otherwise, what's the point? You know, if your heart's not in it, your heart's not in it. Move, like cut your losses and move on to the next thing, and focus your energy on the thing that is going to feel good for you and is going to feel right for you. Because, you know, yeah, we have a long time, but we also have a very short life as well, as we've spoken about. So you have time to figure it out, and it's worth figuring out. In my opinion, I would agree with that. I
think it's the greatest thing you can ever give yourself.
Yes, completely.
We'll have to keep doing this. This is fun.
This is so much fun. Are you kidding me? It's like, is this like our job? Like, is this work right now?
No, this is what we do. Like, what do you do all day? I just have conversations.
I love it.
I have conversations with dope ass people. So that's about it. Do you want it? Do you want my job? So, but also just to touch on that real quick, there is a lot of preparation, a lot of things that happen. You can't just start a show and hope to God that people will listen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of things that need to the experience. I'm going to this. The experience that you create for the people that come onto your show is a reflection of you. And that's how I look at it. And that's why I stopped going on so many shows. It's like, this is awful. Like, I'd get on there and I felt like they'll even send me the questions. What am I going to do with these questions? What does it feel like to do that? I'm like, I don't know. Like, ask me the question when I get there. That's what I wrote back one day. Ask me the questions when I get there.
That's amazing.
It's like that's why I called it the Roy bus. Like, the rest of y'all over there, I'm going to be over here, because this is, you're just doing it just to tick the box, but you're doing it with no purpose.
Yeah. The best conversations come when you're actually just present with the person in the moment, and you naturally follow that flow. And I learned that because, look, I'll put my hand up, Chris. Like, when I first started podcasting, I had no clue what I was doing. Like, I had my list of questions and I was like ticking them off like a checklist. And I was like, I quickly realized, though, I was like, oh, the magic is actually in all the unscripted stuff. And even if I didn't get through and I had to throw out all my questions out of the window to follow that thread, I learned how to lean into that. And you have done that. You are the epitome of this, because
I appreciate that.
Coming as firstly a podcaster coming onto another podcaster's show, it's like, what it's like from the other side, and the thoughtfulness and the experience that you create even before. How much have we spoken before, like today even, number of voice notes that we've exchanged, and like, you truly want to capture the essence of your guests on the show, and you absolutely do that incredibly well. So you epitomize it. Yeah.
That means a lot to me. I have a dear friend of mine, Samantha Duran, and she's listening to this. She loves the show too, but she's come on numerous of times. And I didn't know what I was going to say, because how like when you know someone and you go to introduce them and you don't know how to really truly introduce them properly. But if you listen to that second episode where she came on, I was like, look, welcome back to the show type of thing. And I was like, listen, if this goes a little shout out to everybody right now that actually does interviews. And if you have interviewed Samantha before, I'm going to show you what it's supposed to look like to interview and capture someone's essence the way it should be. Okay. It was kind of like I didn't know that I was going to say that. And I almost wanted to edit that piece out, but it's just how I felt. And you could see that she was like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. But she was so true, because you have to, and she actually used that episode as a kind of like in her portfolio when she would send to people and they stopped asking her the questions now. So
how incredible is that? That is
so much fun. So that means a lot when someone says something like that to me, because that's what I go after.
Yeah, you really feel it. Truly, you feel it, and it's an energy thing, and it's an experience thing, and you absolutely feel that from the moment that we started speaking up until this point. So,
well, it's kind of like the I guess the cherry on top at the end when you start. We'll drive obviously things to this, and for the community that's going to watch this potentially early before it does come out, just make sure you're submitting your questions in to the channels we'll put somewhere, and then that way maybe potentially we'll have Laura come on for IG live like we just did, and that's kind of use it a framework, and then we can drive activity and promoting the show. And I just wish you nothing but the best and all the success in life that it's destined for you, and you're going to do a great job, especially with this new you standing in front of the business, and I'm really excited to watch that. I'm a champion it.
Thank you, Chris. Coming from you, that means a lot. And, I truly love everything that you do, everything that you're about. I feel like the moment that we started speaking, we could feel that alignment.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for having me on. It's been such an honor to come in and chat with you and share with your community. So looking forward to doing the live.
Right. I just put the little bit for those who are watching this. They're like, the banner wasn't even going, but the banner's right there. Just follow where to follow. But just go to the show notes, guys. I mean, it's going to be really easy, and we'll even put the timestamps inside of when we post the video on YouTube when the episode comes out. So it's not like you're. That's really helped also with some of the feedback of this new season of posting the chapters on YouTube and whatnot. It really helps people to kind of get through the episode, because me, I can go like 50,000 left fields. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't follow the script. I have my bullet points, though. I wrote down 3 things and I didn't suggest one of them. Anyways, I appreciate you. Thank you so much again, guys. If you're listening to this, make sure that you go back to this episode, and especially if you're looking to be alone in your own thoughts and want to kind of start creating those boundaries and creating that routine that's going to allow you to actualize, this is the episodes for you. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you.
All right, you too. Take care, guys. Peace out. Much love.